Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
I'm Ben Matlock.
I'm going to go for this chill vibe today.
I'm going to go for I should be put down like the dog I am vibe.
You know, I drank not one but two energy drinks today, and they have both worn off.
I drank one, but I drank it early. So, like, I had that, like, from 8 to 10 level of pep, and then just everything fucking spiraled.
No, yeah, I skipped that 8 to 10 level and went to, like, meth head level of, like, and then ate some chicken wings, and that seemed to cancel it out. Now I'm here.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, all these interesting things you can add to your body and have polar opposite reactions.
Yeah.
It's like meth and heroin. Very different vibes.
That's one of the weirdest things about getting older is actually feeling the effects of the food, the stuff that you put into your body. Like, in my teens and 20s, you could eat whatever the fuck you wanted. Like, it could be the healthiest meal you've ever eaten, or it could be like...
Yeah, and you just tell yourself, like, well, there was lettuce on it, presumably.
Right. And I felt the same. I operated the same, like... Same level of athletic prowess or lack thereof, but energy and whatever. Now it's like, I ate an Oreo yesterday. I'm going to be tired all day today.
Yeah, like, just in general, as I've gotten older, like, my self-esteem and my physical, like, health has just deteriorated. Like, I had that brief moment the other day where, like, your phone is switching apps and it's, like, changing screens and it might be taking a little too long. And
and you get the reflection.
I just caught my bare reflection. And it was just like so.
And it's the least flattering angle, too.
Yeah, it's the worst. Like, you see every fucking, like, lack of chin, every fucking, like, you somehow have wrinkles, but you're puffy. And, like.
Yeah. And you've got bags under your eyes that have bags under there.
Yeah. Like, I
have
no business being allowed out into the world. Like, yesterday I was walking on my lunch break, which I usually do, and I walked through the park, and, like, I don't know if I assume they have them everywhere, but those, like, those Lime scooters? They might,
I think they're called something else here, but the same.
Yeah, it's like, just use your app, you can ride a scooter. And this dad was riding with his kid, and he asked me to, like, he stopped me and asked me to film them kind of going up and down the path. And I spent most of it, I did it, but I spent most of it in my head like, you're really going to trust me with your phone? Because, like, I have a certain look, and it's the look of someone who either works in an office environment but doesn't really give a shit, or they used to work in an office environment but they got fired 5 years ago and have been homeless ever since.
Yeah, or I was thinking going back to your car to get your Molotovs and...
Yeah, I just look like a fucking scumbag. I got a fucking hat with a mushroom on it. Like, I don't really shave.
Anytime somebody trusts me with something like that in public, I assume it's because with one look they realize there's no way I'm fucking running away with their phone. They're like, yeah, I can stop and get some ice cream and still catch up with this fat fuck.
I wouldn't get away, but my park is right by a river, and if I was a piece of shit, I would be petty enough to throw your phone in the river if I thought I couldn't get away with it.
Yeah.
I would jump into the river so no one could catch me.
I can't imagine being the person to trust a stranger with your phone. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't have anything on my phone. It's not like I'm like hiding anything there. And still, when somebody's like, "Oh, I want to look at pictures of your baby," it's like, I don't really want you thumbing through my phone.
Yeah, it's just like, don't touch.
There's literally nothing to thumb like across that would be like embarrassing, but like still, don't touch. It's my phone, it's not yours. Don't touch.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it from his perspective. Just like, why the fuck would you want me? The way I look, I don't look happy to be why. It's not like, what a nice day in the park, and I'm like whistling and shit. I have a perpetual fucking rage face on, and I can't help it. It's just it looks like somebody drew cartoon angry eyebrows on me all the time. I've had former coworkers tell me they passed by me on the road like when I'm walking and they wanted to like stop and say hello, but they said I looked so pissed off that they just kept going. And I was like, I probably wasn't actually pissed off. I just...
No, but I can imagine you having the same problem I have. Like, every now and then I'll try to remind myself, like, just try to look friendly. And it's like, then I think I look psychotic. Like,
yeah. But
some people can just look like, have like a smile and look friendly. It's like, it's just too obvious that it's fake if I smile.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I don't think I have the pissed off look that you're describing, but I don't really have an approachable look either,
I just always look really miserable no matter what I'm doing. You know, It's like, you know, I could be having a delicious ice cream cone and I'll look like I found out my wife was cheating on me because I'm just so fucking miserable looking. But then I had an epiphany this week about it where I was like, you know, like my goal most of the time is I don't want to be approached. Especially on these walks on my lunch, because you get some weird fuckers who want you to do stuff, like film them and their kid. And I'm kind of thinking, like, you know, I not all the time, but, you know, maybe for these walks I should look kind of angry, because I don't want to, like, deal with people's shit.
Isn't it... well, I guess it 100% makes sense that, like, the people that do try to talk to you, like, randomly in public are the weirdest motherfuckers, too.
Yeah.
Like, it feels to me like every time, like, I'm at the store or something and somebody's like, oh, hey, how's it going? You know, well, that makes it sound like they know you, but they're just like... You know, they strike up I don't even know how to fake it, because how do you fucking strike up a conversation with a stranger? Like, as you're both clearly doing something. It's not like I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs and look bored. But anyway, they'll start a conversation, and then, like, the next thing out of their mouth will be like, yeah, so that Joe Biden's an alien, right? And it's like, what?
Well, that's true.
Well, sure, but you know, I don't bring it up in the produce aisle.
You see the tentacles come up from behind him anytime he gives a speech. And like, come on, fat. And then that's the sounds. You just got to listen. What you need is a 4K television. Then you'd see.
Total Kang and Kodos thing.
Yeah.
But,
so, yeah, there's our intro
preamble.
Chit-chat. Yeah. On the show, we tell each other stories and we tell them to each other, but hopefully you learn a little something along the way.
I promise you will not learn a thing
then
from my
turn
story
off the
week.
Fucking episode right now, because it's pointless. See you next time.
Well, I mean, it's literally called the Non-Essential Podcast, so like, I think disclaiming that this episode's pointless is kind of redundant. But
yeah, we should have told people there will be a test later.
Yeah, I used to love that. The teachers would be, "Oh, pay attention! It'll be a test later." And then when they try to be like,
will be on the quiz, and it's like that. Me not paying attention has nothing to do with the quiz. Like, you know, me not paying attention is going to happen either way.
Yeah, I was going to say, you could say, if you don't pay attention, you will be executed after class, and you're going to have to execute me, because I cannot pay attention. Like, it's not like I'm willingly necessarily, like...
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a dick, I just don't respect you, and that comes from the heart, teacher.
Yeah. Anyway. So, I guess I got something. Maybe.
Cool. Steve, breaking down how to throw a perfect spiral.
If I knew that, I'd be playing for the Browns.
So you would be their best quarterback.
Mm-hmm. And I'd play for the league minimum, because that's still like what I make in a decade.
That's true. I saw a thing where Brock Purdy's only making like $500,000. Motherfucker was in the championship game.
And that's a weird world we live in when you say this athlete is only making $500,000 for one season, for 1 year of work.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, I've been working since I was 15. I don't think I've made $500,000.
You know, that's true, but it's also like, you hear people make that complaint like, oh, these athletes make so much damn money. It's like, compared to what the fucking league makes off your fucking beer guzzling ass,
certainly.
like, And they get all the vitriol, so they've earned it.
If you want to complain that like entertainers or athletes make too much and you don't watch the sport, great. But if you're a fan of sports and you complain about the money they make, well, then you're an idiot because they make that money because of you. Like,
all right.
Anyway, I've got a story. It's an anonymous author, but it's a guy that sounds really handsome and smart and funny.
And want to give him
I think a lot of people really like this guy. He's successful, but he's anonymous.
That's you, right?
Yes, it's very much. This is this is an original creepypasta, sort of. I don't know. This is probably going to turn into like a 30-minute running joke that's not funny. But here we go.
You have little faith in my ability to be a piece of shit to you.
It'll be apt. This story is called A Plop in the Night.
Oh, nice.
My name it is, yes. I give it away from the get-go. My name is John Jake Boyd, but people call me John Jake. In case anything happens to me, this is my first-hand account of the events that have transpired over the past few months. I'm not sure anybody will...
On the toilet?
This is me proofreading my story for the first time. And I realized what I'd actually written doesn't fit with how I ended the story.
You know what? This is kind of delicious because of all the, like... shit talking we've given like creepypasta writers.
Oh, that's kind of why I did this. Yeah. But anyway, I'm not sure anyone will believe me, but you have to believe me. I swear to God, man, it's all true. I live in what you might call a rural part of Tennessee, known as Jackson Holler.
I live in what you call a piece of shit.
Well, though the locals refer to it as Jackson's Hole on account of the fact that the area forms a large, pucker-shaped depression on the southern side of the Smokies.
I love it.
Kind of like a butthole.
I love it.
If you get my drift.
This is like a Gorillaz music video. Like, just a butt shape.
Yeah, picture a big rocky anus, and you've got a pretty good idea of what Jackson's Hole looks like. So this area is largely cut off from the outside world. There are a few of us locals who prefer the kind of off-grid living that an area like this provides, but few outsiders dare to venture into the dark, bushy depths of Jackson's Hole.
I'm very invested.
I really think you'll like
this. Is good. Is how you set the location?
It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. The sudden, urgent knock on my door startled me. I never got many visitors out in these parts.
From outside, you could hear...
Never got many visitors in these parts, being so far from civilization. And also because I'm a bit of an asshole that doesn't have any friends.
Bit of an asshole and a bit of an asshole.
Mm-hmm. It was one of the McKinsey boys, the one they called Deputy Buck, on account of his name being Buck and him also being a deputy.
And his name's McKinsey.
God damn it, Buck, I said as I opened the door. You almost made me spill my piss. Don't go pissing now, Jake. Just here to ask you a few questions.
I'm just here to shit on your piss.
Piss. Believe it or not, I'm not one who enjoys a bunch of questions, particularly when they're asked by some chucklefuck lawmen. But seeing as I had nothing better to do, I stepped out on the front porch.
I said... Sorry to interrupt, but there's a... Did you ever watch Mr. In-Between? I might have told you about it.
No, I think I remember
there's
telling me about it.
There's a scene in that show where cops show up, and the guy's a hitman and stuff, so obviously he's committed a fuck ton of crimes. And they're asking him about, like, harassing some woman. Not, like, he didn't actually do it, but...
Actually do it, right,
but she claims he did and got, like, her brother involved in it. This is, like... fucked up misunderstanding, but he thinks they're there to like talk to him about other shit, so he's just like, I don't answer questions. And that's all he said, like, why don't you answer questions? I don't answer questions.
Well, I mean, in fairness, that's a question that you just asked him, and he already told you.
Yeah, he just will not let him get a word in.
Well, I said impatiently, go ahead. Well, we've been looking for a hunter who came to the hole last week. Was only supposed to be out for the day, but no one's seen him since he set out. Well, what's that got to do with me? I asked, irritated. We never said it had anything to do with you, the deputy replied. We were just hoping you seen something.
Tell me or I'll poop.
Tell me. Stop or I'll shit. That would, in fairness, get me to stop running because I'd be like, what?
Yeah. What if somebody had a gun pointed at you and said, tell me or I'll poop?
Yeah, I kind of want to see that.
They pull the trigger, it just sort of oozes out the gun.
We never said you had anything to do with it. We just were hoping you seen something. Nope, I never seen anything, I said. We both stood on the porch for a minute, neither saying nothing. The deputy's eyes scanned the tree line. What kind of dumb do you have to be to come hunting in Jackson's Hole anyway? The deputy sighed. You know the legends, Jake.
You fucking live there.
Right. You know the legends, Jake. It's not like nobody's ever come here looking for that thing before. I snorted. Well, if you ask me, anyone stupid enough to go chasing wives' tales in a place like Jackson's Hole deserves whatever they end up finding.
They're looking for the grand prostate?
Yeah. the giant nugget at the center of Jackson Hole.
The golden spot.
Look, Buck said impatiently, just let me know if you see anything, all right? Buck made his way back to his truck. I watched as he snaked down the dirt drive and turned onto the dirt road, where he headed east towards the dirt lane that leads to the dirt avenue that eventually winds back to town. By now, the jerky I'd eaten for breakfast, and then the jerky I'd ate for lunch, and then the spicy jerky I snacked on between, was racing through my colon, so I headed to the outhouse round back.
I have never had that reaction with like jerky. It's always the reverse.
Reverse, yeah.
Yeah, you block up.
I don't know, it has a lot of protein.
Yeah.
My eyes adjusted to the dim light as I removed my gun from my hip holster, and the one from my waistband, and then the one from my other hip holster, before I could sit. I noticed something odd sticking out of the sludge deep down in the shit pit. It was a boot. I know I didn't shit out no boots, and I sure as shit didn't throw any boots in the shit pit. So that meant somebody else had been using my shitter. And given the conversation... Well, I mean, something's up. Given the conversation I had, I could only assume it was the dumbass Bigfoot hunter. I briefly considered...
And you know what? We can't rule out that you shit out that boot.
We
can't just take your word for it.
I'm very glad you said that, because I was kind of hoping that was the tone, like that this guy was the kind of guy that might have actually shit out a boot.
You know how much fucking jerky you just ate? It would not surprise me if you took out like an entire left leg.
Basically, you got a footlocker going on down there. Yeah. I briefly considered calling up that deputy boy and telling him, but the jerky shits were more urgent. By the time I was done in there, it was dusk, and I decided the last thing I wanted was a bunch of squirrely policemen poking around my property. If some hunter wants to trespass another man's shithouse and drop his boot down the hole, so be it. If he comes back, I got my uninvited guest shotgun under my pillow. It's uncomfortable as fuck, but just watch him try to break in here.
That's a hell of a reaction to protecting something you call the shit pit.
You know how many
shit pit should be a community thing.
I live like on the edge of rural Ohio, and you know how many people I've talked to that are like, yeah, I live out in the middle of nowhere. If anybody comes out to my house, I know to grab my guns. It's like, how about you fucking answer the door first? And just be like, hey, what's up?
That is answering the door. If you ever go visit anybody out in the rural areas, like, you know, you have to like break your fucking car window, get on the opposite side and take cover, fire back 3 shots, and then pause, and then a 4th shot so they know it's you, and then they put their gun away.
Yeah. Or they might fire a couple welcoming shots into the...
Oh, yeah. You're dodging shit the whole time.
Yeah. A few days passed, and I nearly forgotten about the shit boot, but then Deputy Buck came back. Apparently, no one had heard from old Doc Jones, so they went to his place to check up on him. His truck was there, and so was his wallet and keys.
It's weird. His favorite shit pit boot is gone.
It was gone. But the place looked like it had been empty for days. I told him the same thing. I hadn't seen nor heard anything. If you do, Buck said, make sure you let us know, you hear? I didn't tell him about the boot.
These guys are some fucking banger detectives. Just go to people and be like, well, if you got
Have
ideas,
you seen anything?
you take care
we're all
of that.
out. Yeah. So I didn't tell him about the boot, and later when I saw the very distinguishable type ring Doc always wore glistening at the bottom of my outhouse hole, I didn't tell them that neither. One missing person's boot showing up in your commode is odd enough, but two people's? Well, I knew what people think about us loner mountain types, and I knew I didn't want to bring that kind of attention to myself. But I also knew I needed to figure out why people kept sneaking into my shitter, dropping stuff, then disappearing off the face of the earth. Just didn't make no sense. I kept an eye out on that outhouse near 24/7. Thought about locking it up, but the last thing a man wants is to have an old padlock between him and salvation when 6 pounds of squirrel jerky and a case of cheap beer is blasting its way through his intestines.
That's the sanest thing anybody said.
That I pulled from experience.
Yeah.
I know when I have to go, if you add one obstacle that requires at least a little bit of fine motor skill, I'm fucked.
The thing is, your body has like almost like a fucking detector of when you're near.
It's a proximity detector,
to
right?
Your toilet, but it doesn't understand you don't have a path to it. So that's where the bad things happen.
It's funny because it's true. It's like your ass just knows that you're getting closer to a toilet.
Yeah.
And if you get too close, it's got a mind of its own. It's like, we're here. And your brain is screaming, no, we're fucking not. And my pants are still up.
And next thing you know, you're diving into your bathtub like it's that bomb scene in a Lethal Weapon.
Right. But you're bringing the bomb with you.
Yeah, yeah. You're trying to protect everyone else.
Yeah. So, like I said, that line hit home with me. As early summer progressed into later summer, people seemed to keep vanishing, and people's stuff seemed to keep finding its way into my septic pit. A hat, a glove, a pair of sunglasses. It was the damnedest thing. The worst part was, each time that twitwit deputy Buck would knock on my door and ask about another missing person, he seemed less and less impressed with my dismissive responses. But what was I supposed to say? No, officer, I haven't seen these people, but all their stuff is buried in my shitter out back. Which is probably what you're supposed to say.
Yeah, I mean...
But I also get not trusting the law to do any due diligence at that point. They'd just be like, yep, you did it.
Yeah, to be fair, if they're like you were a killer and you were going to dispose of people's shit, but you couldn't like figure it out, like...
Somebody else's like
outhouse,
outhouse, yeah.
Shit pit is probably the place to put it, because who the hell's going to really analyze that?
It's funny because you say that, but there's been in the last probably 10 years locally at least 2 or 3 murders where they tried to hide bodies in septic tanks and they were found relatively quickly.
Well, that's a little different, because that's like that's a plumbing system. Like, they got to look at that. I'm saying, like, you know, if you just got a fucking, you know, mound of shit in a hole, that's probably the safest place. Like, that's a fucking Dark Souls area.
Yeah, I mean, you have to hold your breath in an outhouse, and I can barely make it long enough to like take a piss. If you have to take a dump, that's the worst. But at least like the smell of yourself taking a dump seems to like help ease the pain of smelling other people's crap.
God, I'm like, this is one of those conversations where I'm like imagining the smell, and it's too real.
Everything changed one evening in late July. It was late, probably around 2 a.m. in the morning, when I was woke up by the sudden and unignorable urge to piss. The bottle of Beam I drank that evening was urgently trying to make an exit, so I quickly stumbled out the back door and towards the John. As I yanked on the handle, I was startled to find the door was latched from the inside. A deep, growling voice uttered, "Occupied." I nearly shit myself as I stumbled backwards. What the fuck? I slapped at my sides, but realized I'd switched pajamas and forgotten to transfer my snub-nosed revolver to the new pair. If you haven't realized, this guy has a lot of guns that he keeps just on him constantly.
Yeah, I pretty much imagine like the whole scene with him talking to the deputy. He's just spinning revolvers like Revolver Ocelot.
Like different, but different ones. It's like a Leslie Nielsen movie. Every time the camera pans to the deputy and back, he's got a completely different gun he's spinning.
Yeah.
But nobody mentions it because it's the country and it's pretty normal. "Fuck," I shouted again as I turned towards the house, stopping only to take a piss in the bush along the way. I grabbed the closest gun I could find, the semi-fully automatic assault shotgun that I kept next to the bush light in my fridge, and ran back outside. I was about to begin firing blindly when I noticed the door was open and the John was empty. That wouldn't have stopped me. I think I would have continued firing blindly, but this guy had some trigger control.
Yeah.
All that remained was a huge footprint in the mud and a god-awful smell coming from the toilet. It was worse than the time I had hit that scratch-off and decided to head into the city for the Taco Bell Chipotle Del Taco trifecta, which is exactly what I would do if I hit a scratch-off.
No, even if I hit it for like $5.
Right.
That's
Which is honestly the most I've ever won in my life on a scratch-off is $5.
I don't think I've ever played a scratch off.
I don't know if I've ever bought one. My dad likes to do them for like stocking stuffers for Christmas.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. The legend was real. Big Shits does exist. And the fucker's been using my toilet for months. I suddenly knew what happened.
About it. He's like,
right.
Occupied.
I suddenly knew what happened to all those people. But even with a grainy photo of that big footprint, I knew nobody would believe me. It turned out that wouldn't matter anyway. A few days after the incident, Deputy Buck showed back up at my door, but this time there were others with him. He told me that they'd plumbed the dark, wet depths of Jackson's Hole and had found some of the missing people's stuff. And in every case, they were able to follow trails in the bush that led back towards my place. They asked if I wanted to admit anything, but what the hell could I admit to? All I could do was mutter "big shits" under my breath, which they took as an admission. That I'd been caught or something. When I refused to let them onto my property, they said they'd be back with a warrant. That was hours ago. I expect them back any minute. When they look in the outhouse, I know I'm done for. I could try to run, but there's only one way out of Jackson's Hole, and I'm sure that the cops are watching for me. I could try to get out on foot, but out here in these woods with Big Shits on the prowl, I think I'd rather take my chance with the law. The end.
Man, I would probably take my chance with Big Shits.
He seemed friendly to you. I mean, he owes you. He's been shitting up your outhouse the whole fucking summer.
Like, yeah, he didn't ask, but he also, like, you know.
Well, I mean, really, that part was kind of written from this, like, paranoid country gun nut mindset that I'm familiar with, like I said, out here in rural Ohio. And in reality, like, if you really had to take a shit, you're out in the middle of nowhere and you came across an outhouse, would you really care that much, or would you just take a shit? I would just take a shit. Like,
probably. And it's a victim blame. Like, if somebody came into your house and used your bathroom for months and you didn't know it, like, that's on you. You know, I feel like, you know, it's not a one-off thing. It's like, I would be mad, but I would also be like, damn, I really don't pay attention.
The concerning part is this thing's been like taking big shits in his outhouse all summer, but not using any of the toilet paper. It's like, man, come on, hygiene.
Oh, he's big shits. I mean, unless it's I can tell from the way this was written that this guy probably buys that cheap one-ply shit that does nothing
I'm
for
kind of
you.
imagining he probably doesn't wipe either. He's just like, wiping's gay.
Well, you know,
which I didn't realize is a thing that some people out there think.
Yeah,
but
Macho Man Randy Savage's brother was a big proponent of never using toilet paper.
Yeah,
fucking
just putting
horrifying.
anything up between your cheeks is gay. Like,
and he was a wrestler as well. So imagine you're wrestling a guy in fucking underwear tights who's never wiped.
Doesn't wipe.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Yeah, that's why his career didn't go anywhere. People are like, you're
I imagine you can
disgusting.
only like play off the lie that nobody wants to wrestle me because they're intimidated for so long before it gets out why nobody actually wants to wrestle you. No, yeah, apparently that's a relatively common like thing among some circles, and that's weird to me. I wipe 2, sometimes 3 or 4 times because I know the horrors that come out from that spot.
I wipe until the job is done.
Right.
You know, like that is probably half the time I'm in the bathroom.
That means rolling out a fire hose to finish it off, then so be it. But...
yeah, if I have to cut myself off at the waist to get away from what I've just done, I will.
Yeah, I just thought it was like a time for us to meld our creepypasta and Bigfoot with...
I feel like we've been building to it. You know? This really feels like who we are.
It's been brewing.
Yeah.
Who we are.
And it feels good to finally just like...
just let it out.
Yeah, break off the shackles of like whatever the fuck we thought this show was and become who we were born to be. Poop.
Well, you know, the funniest part is like right as we were starting the show, you said you were going to be, well, yeah, I do that every week. Got to be on my A game for this. No, now we have 2 kids to deal with at night, and Lincoln wasn't in bed yet, but she doesn't have daycare tomorrow because of the Easter weekend. So my wife was like, that's fine. Just we can let her stay up. It's not going to hurt anything. And I'm like, are you sure you don't want any help? She's like, nah, I got it. This the baby had just eaten, and so she was good and whatever. I get downstairs, and literally like 2 minutes after we start recording, my phone buzzes, and it's a text from Tara saying, she shit everywhere. I should have let you go check on her.
I'm an asshole, but it's just like, that's what you get. That's what you get for creating life.
Yep. I just think shit's the theme of the day. Like,
shit is the essence of most days.
You grow up, you become an adult, you have to work. There's very few pleasurable things in life. There's alcohol, sleeping, and shitting. And that's mostly it.
And alcohol fucking can really send that shitting part down a dark, dark path. If you drink the wrong shit too much of it.
And plus, as much as we actually talk about drinking and joke about drinking, like, alcohol only works as a coping mechanism if you do it responsibly.
Yeah. It can very quickly become its own problem, yeah.
Right. And often does.
Yeah.
So yeah, for all you impressionable young kids listening to our shit monster story, we're joking about the alcohol thing. Coping with that is called alcoholism. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But
do what I do. Talk about drinking all the time, but only actually have like 2 beers a month, and then just spend most of your life missing it.
Right. It's funny how much time I think about, like, that'll sound really bad. Think about alcohol versus how much I like actually drink it. But like, sometimes when I get bored, the state of Ohio, they can't, no state government or federal government or local government can do anything right except for apparently make a liquor control website that lets you look up exactly what is in stock at what stores at any given like real time, and it always works. I've never seen that website down. Yeah. Like Job and Family Services down all the time, food stamps down all the fucking time. Like,
yeah, but if you need a bottle,
yeah, that works 24/7. So when I'm bored, sometimes I'll like be looking at the different bourbons and stuff because that's my drink of choice. Be like, man, that sounds good. Like I don't actually buy them,
yeah,
but
yeah, my life is kind of like that meme of Wolverine laying in bed looking at a photo, all sad, and the photo's just me with like a bottle of $2 wine from when I was like 18.
You're like stroking the photo, like
yeah, it was that was great because you didn't care what you were drinking. Now I'm like, oh, this tastes like shit, I don't want this. But back then it's like, oh, this tastes like shit, they're probably cheap.
That you say that because yeah, they're like I would say my teen. I didn't really start drinking till I was almost 21. I was 20, but basically my entire 20s, anything that was actually considered fancy and expensive, I thought tasted like ass. Mostly because you were like encouraged to drink that stuff straight, and I couldn't do that. And then all the stuff that I thought was like that we would drink all the fucking time was like that cheap ass stuff, or like the like wine coolers, or hard lemonade, or twisted tea.
Whatever the fuck you could get, right?
Right. And it was all awesome. We loved it all. And now, yeah, like you said, at some point it shifts and it sucks because, like, anytime I'll try something like that, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I'll get a case of this, like, hard iced tea. And you're like, this stuff is ass.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what I like is scotch and bourbon and whiskey and stuff that's expensive. And
that's the same. My tastes actually haven't, like, gotten more expensive. It's it's literally... At this point, it's like I'm limited by the fact I think most booze tastes like shit, and I also really am like I am not equipped to deal with a hangover anymore.
Yeah,
like, I need like 2 days off after.
And what I define as a hangover now is like feeling even like slightly like stuffy in my head, or you know, that little headachy thing.
Yeah.
You wake up, you're like, fuck, that wasn't worth it. Whereas before it was like, I can still walk a straight line the next morning, I'm good to go. Yeah. Like I might puke a couple times along the way, but it's fine.
I used to be like one of those dudes who was like, yeah, let's slam a beer, you know, and shit like that. And literally like last Saturday or Sunday, I had some beer in the fridge. It was like this mango IPA. And I was just sort of like, you know, in my day, I could have downed like multiple cans of it. And I was like, let's see if I can, you know, slam a beer like the good old days. And then like, I'm not shitting you, I only got halfway through the can. And then I was like, oh, that's too cold. And it was like I've just become such a bitch.
I don't know though. I think if you're gonna slam beer, I've never been much of.
I could slam fucking anything, and it was great. Yeah. The upside is drinking that much beer that fast anyway was still like an immediate buzz.
Yeah. Well, that's the fun part when you kind of quit drinking is like, I can drink a beer now and be like, hey, I can feel that. It's like, yeah. And I don't, you know, what's weird is, like I said, I prefer whiskeys and stuff, and I don't drink that much of them. You know, you pour like a 2 ounce or 3 ounce drink, and I've gone to drinking it straight just from a health standpoint, not adding more like
I like
pop or something.
I like to drink it straight because I feel like I'm like in John Wick, you know.
Well, like, that too. I mean, I am pretty badass. I did
I'm
just write it into it,
and it's like I just need this to wash down the day. I don't want it to taste good.
Right. But now I forgot where I was going with that. Oh yeah, beer. It's weird because the whiskey and the bourbon and stuff doesn't affect me as much. It seems to take more of that before I'm like, oh, I feel that, and then it's like, because I drink very little beer anymore, I can have like a beer and my body's like, whoa, what the hell was that? It's like,
whoa, what are you doing?
It's a fucking amber lager. I mean, settle down.
Now we gotta go to the shit pit.
The shit pit, yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah.
To our young impressionable viewers, whatever, you're gonna do whatever you do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. I'm going to talk about drinking, like binge drinking in an unhealthy manner. Then I'm going to say, don't do that. But I might or might not be winking as I say, don't do that.
I'm just not even going to say anything at all. I'm just going to drop this case of beer behind me and let Jesus take the wheel for you.
Well, the truth of it is, I know nobody in their teens or 20s is going to do or listen to what somebody in their 40s says anyway. Yeah. So it really doesn't fucking matter what I say.
Which is the correct response. If I was 18 and some bitch who couldn't drink more than half a beer told me what to do, I would be like, piss off.
Give me that Smirnoff.
There's always like that hypothetical. Like, if you could meet your younger self, what would you say to him? It's like, I wouldn't, because he would kick my ass.
Oh, no, I'd totally kick my younger self's ass.
He would fucking mug me. He would be like playing with a butterfly knife or some shit, and I'd be like, hey, buddy, where'd you get that? And he'd just like stab me in the throat.
See, it'd be easy for me to say my younger self was in shape because I weighed a lot less, but my younger self was not. I work out now. I didn't work out then. Like I think, and I've got the weight advantage now. I think I would kick my like college age self's ass in a fight. Yeah, plus, I've taken jujitsu and stuff. I don't know. So I've also trained in combat, but
I think that was like my younger self probably had a more of a will to live.
Well, that's the thing is I wouldn't need to kick my younger self's ass because my younger self would take one look at what I've become and just jump off a bridge. Like, fuck.
Yeah. You scared him straight.
Immediately put my Malibu coconut rum down and enter law school or something.
That'd be hilarious. It'd be like fucking Looper. It's like, you just start fading away. You're like, oh shit. What are you doing? I thought we were going to cage fight. Well, shit.
So anyway, I didn't think about it until we were about ready to record. I'm a little sad that I didn't call him Shit Squash instead of Big Shits, but I think they're both pretty valid names.
I like Big
overall.
I like Big Shits.
So, yeah. Overall, I'm happy with my story, especially because I wrote it in about a 15-minute time span today. But
I enjoyed it.
Well, good. I wrote it specifically to your.
I am the target demographic, so.
Yeah, I'm laughing, but that's true. Yeah. It's 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, but hopefully you at home were the target demographic as well. But if not, it doesn't get better from here.
That's the one promise we can make every week is that we will not improve.
Yeah, this has been ideally we keep it level. But that's really the best. And usually we need booze to do that. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be back next week with another thing for another time. Another thing.
For a time.
Oh, man, this is
I'm just going to repeat everything. I want to be that guy.
I'm going to be a mumble rapper on here. There's nothing I say is decipherable. Yo, man, welcome to another session, man. Fucking yeah.
Yeah, and that works because, like I said, I always pictured myself. It was shocking to most of the listeners, I'm sure. I don't listen to a lot of rap, but I do have a Spotify workout mix that gives me some exposure. And so I'm the guy that's always in the background that just shouts the random thing. Like, you mumble the line, and then I'll be like, yeah, to the...
Yeah. Well, it's just great because it's like hip-hop boom hour, you know? So it's like, some big shits, man. Yeah, man. It's like that. But then you put that on top of a beat, it fucking goes, man.
Yeah. Well, that's the key to that whole genre of music, is it's really all about the beat.
Well, mumble rap's a subgenre of it, but it really took off the last decade.
I'm not as familiar with mumble rap because that's not the kind of song. I mean, I know what it is, but
most of it's terrible.
When you're thinking workout mix, it's not really the kind of rap that makes its way into the
most of it's mix. Terrible because it's not even like it's an old cliche like criticism about rap where it's like, oh, they didn't even rhyme, but it doesn't have to like exactly rhyme. It just has to kind of flow. But a lot of mumble rappers like they don't even have that, so it's like there's just like. You could read, like, the fucking You could read Jules Verne in mumble rap, put it over a beat, and it's like, yeah, it's like somebody will be like, oh man, that shit is fire.
You know what? You've inspired me. I might have to re-download some of my... I used to have like acid music and stuff. I know you're familiar, where you use loops to make music. I can make a beat with that, and then I love Jules Verne. And I mumble, so maybe this might be my calling in life.
Yeah, maybe we just need to put some fucking hip-hop beats behind this show, and, then I'll be rich. Anywho, we're going to bounce. Thanks for listening. Toodles.
Bye.